We have just seen some massive Pixel 11 leaks, and this tells us everything that we might want to know. These all come from someone called Mystic Leaks, and it's very interesting. And you might think these leaks are coming a bit early, but honestly, we are not that far away from the Pixel 11s. Last year, these were announced at the Made by Google event in August, in a very different sort of keynote, which I kind of hope we see again. And it's the same thing every year. We know about 80% of the Pixel leaks before we even get to the announcement from Google, and that's kind of the same here this time round. But if you're expecting some big dramatic updates to the Pixel 11s, I wouldn't hold your breath. Let me start by saying that these are all leaks. Nothing's official and all of this could change. But what I'll do is I'll break it down phone by phone. And the first thing I want to tackle is something that could actually be quite cool if it happens. This is the whole idea that the Pixel 11s could be getting something called Pixel Glow. This could either be a ring of lights that run along that camera housing, or I did see a render of it being in the camera housing itself, which makes a little bit more sense, especially with the leak showing that that camera visor could be all completely blacked out. We saw this a little while back in some Android 17 code, and if we do get this, then it's going to give me that kind of like nostalgic Android feel, because I remember getting the Galaxy S7 Edge and I remember it having that blinking LED light, which just from the colour of the light, you could tell which app was sending you what notification, and this could work in a similar type of way. And the closest we've had to this coming back to mainstream is from Nothing with the Glyph Matrix on their phones. This does have some legs behind it though, because we actually saw a splash screen in Android 17 Beta 4 that explicitly said Pixel Glow, and something in the diagnostics app which points to something called light bulb not working correctly. This could be really cool though, so you could get different colours based on who's messaging you or what sort of apps are sending you notifications, and it's either going to look very good or just a little bit naff. I don't know which one it might be yet. And this is just me speculating, but I think that this could be something saved for the Pixel 11 Pros rather than the base model. And of course, we don't know anything about this yet, but I'm sure that it's going to fully leak some point before the summer. Right, let's talk about some changes coming to the Pixel phones across the board before we get into some individual changes happening to the Pros, the Base and the Fold. Let's get this one out the way so far. There's no redesign this year. The non-folding Pixels will basically look the exact same as the 10 and even the 9, and I don't have any complaints about it because the design's great. Like, don't mess with something if it works. What we do know is that all the Pixels will get the Tensor G6, but hold your expectations here. Don't be expecting Snapdragon levels of power from this because you're going to be disappointed if you do. The Tensor G6 is going to be based on a 2nm process if you believe those leaks, and if you do believe them, then what we could also be getting is going to be a new CPU, going to be a new ISP, a new modem which is going to be made from MediaTek, which should hopefully get rid of some of those signal issues, and then we're also going to be getting a new GPU. However, that GPU isn't all good news. That's because if you read what you believe, then Google could be using a graphics architecture that actually dates back to around 2021. As bad as that does sound, it doesn't mean that the Pixel 11 is going to feel slow day to day. But what it does mean is that the gaming performance will probably be a little bit behind chips made from Qualcomm and Apple as well. So when you're trying to do more intense tasks or look for something like ray tracing, the Pixel 11 would probably still fall a little bit behind the others. This is something we tend to expect now from Google and the Tensor chips because they prioritize more efficiency, thermals, AI performance over that raw power. There is one thing though that I was really looking forward to getting on the Pixel 11s this year, and that was that updated IR Face Unlock. And this was meant to be as good as the iPhone's Face ID, especially in low light, and it was meant to do the exact same job from just the circle cutout, but it looks like Project Toscana is what it was called internally, is just not going to be ready for the Pixel 11. So this is something we might have to wait an extra year for. It's a little bit disappointing, but fingers crossed that this is going to be ready in 12 months time for the Pixel 12s. Okay, let's talk about those Pro Pixels, and I'm going to start with the Pixel Fold because since this thing came out almost 12 months ago, a lot has happened in the foldable world. I actually bought the Pixel 10 Pro Fold and it's kind of sat in my drawer for the last year. Away from it having Pixel Snap and stock Android, it's probably the worst foldable I have. It's heavy, it's chunky, and the cameras are not great. But from the rumours, it looks like Google is going to try and at least fix a few of those complaints. The Pixel 11 Pro Fold should be thinner and lighter than what we have now, but I just don't think it's going to be the same level as the Oppo Find N6 or the Galaxy Z Fold 7, but I can hope. And then the other change might be a better camera system, because the leaks I've seen so far say that we're going to get upgraded cameras on the 11 Pro Fold, but they don't exactly say what they might be. We don't know if the upgrade will be on the ultra-wide, the telephoto and the main, but from what I've seen so far, it looks like that we could be getting a new 50 megapixel main sensor, and I'm all here for that, because so far I think that the Pixel 10 Pro Fold has the worst cameras out of all of the Pixel 10 lineup. There is some disappointing news for the Pixel 11 Pro Fold, and this is the fact that the battery might get smaller than we have now. So this would fall from the 5015 mAh to 4600, and honestly, that's a huge drop for a reason I can't quite figure out. Maybe it's because the phone is slimmer, but then you look at folding phones like the V6 from Honor, that has a 6600 mAh battery, so I'm not sure it being thinner is a good excuse. And the other downgrade for the 11 Pro Fold might just be the fact that it's going to start with 12 gigs of RAM instead of 16, but you're going to see that as a trend, not just in this video for the rest of the Pixels, but just for phones in general. From what I've seen on the Pixel 11 Pro Fold leaks this year, it looks like Google is trying to make it better, but I still think it's going to probably be the worst folding phone that you can get, especially now you've got the Motorola Razr Fold, you're going to get the Galaxy Z Fold 8 coming very soon, and it seems like this is going to be a little bit of a side project for Google. And I'm kind of losing hope that this Fold is ever going to compete. Let's talk about the Pro phones, because this is where most people spend all of their money, and depending on how you look at it, the upgrades to the Pixel 11 Pro might make the Pixel 10 Pro a pretty good deal. This is mostly because the changes are pretty small, and this is more of like an S upgrade than a fully fledged upgrade. The battery on both Pro phones might be getting smaller. The smaller Pro falling by 100 mAh, and then the XL falling by 200 mAh. I'm not sure why Google would do this, especially at a time where silicon carbon batteries are around and other phones easily hitting 7000 mAh even in smaller devices. Like, maybe the new Tensor chip will be massively battery efficient, but I don't really like the idea of this. Just like the 11 Pro Fold, the Pixel 11s could fall from 16 to 12 gigs of RAM, and we're going to see this a lot, not just from Google, and of course it's totally out of their control. They can't really do much to put in more RAM, especially with the cost of it at the moment, but it's disappointing. There is some good news though. The displays might get very slightly brighter, but the big thing here is that we could see some upgrades to the main camera and telephoto camera. And I was reading that because of the sensor upgrades coming to the 11 Pros, then the video on a Pixel could finally start to stack up with something like the S26 Ultra, or maybe even, fingers crossed, something like the Vivo X300 Ultra, because at the moment, yeah, video is where Pixels really let themselves down. I want to tell you loads about what camera updates we're going to get, but actually, in a very unlike Google move, we haven't really seen any of this yet. There haven't been leaks about what sensors we're going to get or what megapixels we're going to get, but this at least is going to be a step in the right direction if it happens, especially with Samsung, Vivo and Oppo pushing way ahead of Pixel now in photos, which is something obviously Pixel used to be so well known for, so if they can try and grab that crown back, I'll be very happy. And this might be one of the biggest downgrades ever to come to Pixel on what I'm about to say now, and it's the fact that what Google are going to do with the Pixel 11 Pros is probably get rid of that temperature sensor, which I forgot was even there until I was doing the script for this video. So yeah, Google are going to get rid of this by the looks of it, potentially. Let me talk base Pixel for a second. This is going to follow the same trend as the Pro Pixels, slightly brighter display and slightly less RAM. But it still will get the Tensor G6 chip with the new modems and everything else that the other Pixels are getting. Maybe most interestingly for the base Pixel, it could be getting a camera upgrade as well, and that main camera could be jumping to 50 megapixels, which might be the same one that's going in the Pixel 11 Pro Fold. The base Pixel needs something, because the iPhone 17 last year I think just trumped this in every aspect. I found the cameras pretty weak on the Pixel 10 this year, so hearing that there might be a new main camera is all I needed to hear, because that's kind of what this phone needed, and hopefully it doesn't stick with 128 gigs of storage. I'd love to see this bump up to 256. I did mention before Pixel Glow, which should be coming to the Pixel 11s, and it could come to the base Pixel, but I don't know whether it's going to come to the base Pixel. I feel like that Google is going to give this to the Pro Pixels, but who knows? In a couple of months' time, you might see a base Pixel with Pixel Glow, and if we do, I think that would be pretty cool. And that is a lot of what I've heard about the Pixel 11s so far. There is going to be loads more to leak in the next month or so, probably CADs, colours, adverts. I mean, Google aren't good at keeping things in-house, so let's see how quickly they leak this year. I feel like we might know everything there is to know by the end of June, that's my guess. But let me know what you think of the Pixel 11s in the comments. Are you disappointed that Google again are doing another refinement year? I mean, Google at the moment do need to upgrade a few things, and they are doing it. So they are upgrading their cameras on all 4 of their phones this year, and I feel like that might just be enough. Before you head off, if you can subscribe to the channel, I would massively appreciate it. And if you do that, then I'll see you in the next one.